Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the 1878 FM podcast. It is three of us again today. We're in the process of working something out with the Bushmaster General. Yeah. I can't say Mr. Vitti won't ring him before the end of the show. That anything could happen. Anything could happen. What was really interesting last week, Dave, was in our group chat after it, he said, I thought Dave was crying when he rang me.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. Do you know what it was? I think because I was laughing.
You were laughing, weren't you? That was
I was laughing, and I think he took that as me being potentially upset. I mean, I was certainly full and bouncy with emotion, but in a happy way, not a sad way.
Exactly.
Because he did provide us with a full stop, as it were, for what was a bit of a ramble, but I think it all came out in the end.
I think it will.
I like to think that Andy answered the phone because he thought Dave was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh, okay.
And thought he was the friend.
He was the friend.
That's the way I like to think about it in my head.
What would Dave be phoning Andy? What kind, like records, like DJ and stuff? Music.
You know what? If I had a question on the Happy Mondays, for example, because he is encyclopedic on that. In fact, he did a documentary, I think, recently on the Happy Mondays. Now, I like the Happy Mondays, and I think most people like the Happy Mondays, but not to the point that I would study them. No. Whereas he's done that. So I think if that was a question for me, then he would be a phone a friend. Yeah. Or if they were asking something like, how many different decade stations does Absolute Radio currently have?
Yeah.
Then he would be my person to go.
Do you think? Hang on, just on the Happy Mondays. Do you think he just got into that because he realised that Mondays generally aren't happy after Everton have played at the weekend?
Maybe.
And he just thought, I want to be happy on a Monday.
Maybe that's why I like New Order.
Maybe.
If you can work that.
Probably
come back if you can work that gag.
I've got it, but that's because we're men of a certain age.
That's it.
Isn't it?
That is it. No, I was just going to ask Dave, because Dave has seen behind the curtain.
He has.
In many aspects.
Loads.
Especially the townhouse.
The townhouse. Very clean.
Do you know, remember when that first started, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he phoned a friend?
Yeah.
Was everyone used to say that the friend was just locked in a room and was in the studio somewhere. Dave, because you've seen it all, you've done it all. Can you shed any light on this? Would that person just be at home chilling out watching, EastEnders, or are they locked away in a room somewhere?
I don't know how it used to work, but I do know that now, when you watch the latest episodes with Mr. Clarkson,
and that's why I haven't,
although not for very long by all accounts. When you watch those, they now actually say, "Okay, so I'm talking to Barry. Yeah, Barry, can you just confirm that you have one of our team there from the show?" So they've obviously got somebody with them all night who is making sure that they're not just going to go on to Google and just get the answer that way.
But even that, Dave, that's mad, isn't it? Because is that a case of you bring three people with you and you're all sitting in a room and you choose, or did they have to send three people to their
I've never thought about that before, but yeah, if I was on there and I had nominated you and Ped and Bush, for sake of example.
I'm going to say, because that can't be real, but go on, yeah.
But, but if I did, then theoretically, they would then have to send three members of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire team to go and sit in your respective houses during the recording of said show, just in case you were called upon. And if you weren't called upon, and there's every chance that you wouldn't have been called upon, no disrespect, but if you weren't, then that person will have just sat there in your house for 3 hours, eating your biscuits and drinking your tea,
using the electricity,
and then leaving.
That
interesting.
What a gig!
It's a good gig.
What a gig that is!
I tell you what, it's almost as good as the Reserve of I'm a Celebrity gig that we talked about before.
We have talked about.
Spend 3 weeks or whatever lying in the sun at the Versace Hotel in Queensland.
That's a good one.
That's
the Richard Wright gig at Man City, where he was 8th choice goal. He got to wear the tracky, 10 grand a week. Done nothing really.
That's thing you know, isn't
and
it?
that is now Scott Carson.
Scott Carson, yeah.
That's a great.
Honestly, that's the best gig in sport, isn't it? It's the being a second or third string keeper somewhere at a big club.
Yeah.
Because wasn't Shea Given in that situation for a while at City? Wasn't he there, kind of towards the end of his playing days? Wasn't he there, sat there as a really good, safe pair of hands option? And obviously, he was on good money because he was a well-established player and he'd obviously got good money at Newcastle. But then you can then sit there knowing that realistically you're never going to play unless there's an issue. But you're sitting there on whatever, 90, 100 grand a week.
But he was number one though, wasn't he?
For a bit, yeah.
So he was
Yeah,
dropped.
no, but latterly,
Yeah.
Latterly,
Jankovic had the best gig.
Yeah.
Jankovic, who's just left Everton, had a good gig.
Yeah.
He came in to be Andy Lonergan's replacement. Andy Lonergan, who's been here for 16 years, never kicked the ball for us. And Jankovic come in for 3 months, got to wear the trackies and all that.
And he's gone to LAFC.
And now he's got to move to LAFC out of it.
What is going on?
You know what? I remember seeing this on Italian Footy years ago, and they'd done a feature on the AC Milan third choice goalkeeper. And he never played the game.
That, yeah.
And he was saying that it's great, I've got no pressure. He walks around he walks around Milan in his trackie. He plays for AC Milan. Never plays a game. Was on good money, and they were just like, gig. "Is this the best job in the world?"
What a gig!
He had nothing. He just went in, done a bit of training.
Can you imagine? I mean, it's one thing the fact that we all discuss this over a pint from time to time. Just that whole thing about the fact that can you imagine earning, and forget about what the top boys are earning now, but for sake of round figures, can you imagine earning 100 grand a week in any capacity, right? But then when you're earning 100 grand a week, as you rightly say, and you don't have to play, all you have to do is take part in training between 11 and
half 12.
Half 12 or something, and then you have your lunch at your nice fancy training ground, and then you go home and you might go and have a swim, or you might play golf, or you might play tennis, or you go and do the school run and pick the kids up, or you might go out on your bike, or whatever. 100 grand a week.
Imagine doing it for 10 grand a week, or 20, 30, 40. That's your life. Go in, nice fancy car, got your trackie on, everything's done. I feel like I'm a bit tight today, get a rub.
Go back to your supermodel wife in your mock Tudor mansion. It's unbelievable.
We're not talking about Baz here. Come on.
Incredible.
What a life.
Incredible. It is a good life. Let's just do 5 minutes on Everton very quickly before we get on to other stuff. But Dave, your visions in December were so accurate. In fact, probably earlier than December, to be fair, were so accurate. You went full Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat with your dreams there. You could see barren times in the January
the bad guy
window.
But hello, I'm barren times.
Barren times. Yeah, in a pantomime, which I'm sure Dave will have been in.
Well, that's Dave Ritchie playing Barren Times.
But
twiddling his moustache.
I know. I was on it. But it was the prophecy, what you said came true. Everton were scrambling around on deadline day for the last hours, seemingly phoning everybody, and eventually ended the window weaker than what they started it, which even when we were being as negative as we thought was a logical negative level, was even worse than what we thought.
I mean, I'm known for being negative, and I make no bones about
negativity. That's what the thing is.
I can be quite negative at times.
Or realistic, Dave, maybe.
Realistically, maybe, yeah. But even the way that I forecast it might turn out, it was bleaker than that. I mean, I thought we'd get something.
Yeah.
Something, but we ended up with nothing, and it was the most depressing transfer deadline day I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And that whole thing of Dyche leaving Finch Farm, and then nothing but just banners left there and no sign of anybody. And weirdly, actually, as the clock was running down and I could see that there was 60 seconds left, and I thought, I wonder, will there just be will there be a breaking news thing? And then I saw the clock go, and 30 to 20 to 10, 9, 8. I just thought, no, that's it. And we've ended up with nothing. And as you say, a significantly weaker squad than we had last year. Our only attacking options as stand at the moment are DCL and Mopé, which leaves us with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, essentially. And we know that we can't rely upon this. I was thinking earlier on, like, how weird and even more, I mean, who could have imagined how disastrous this was 12 months ago, or nearly 12 months ago? And by that I mean, it was the 19th of May when we beat Crystal Palace 3-2 to secure our status in the top flight. And at that point, I think we all felt that a huge weight had been lifted. Thank God that happened, right? Because it means that we're going to be in the top flight again next season, and we will never be in this situation again. Lest we forget as well that a month earlier, Sean Dyche had been dismissed by Burnley, which all came as a shock to everybody. And Burnley were heading for relegation. They put up a decent fight of it towards the end, but ultimately they went down. Who could have ever thought then that the next season, Burnley are flying in the Championship and are going to go straight up again? We're heading for relegation. We have a significantly weakened squad, and we have now appointed that manager who was deemed not good enough for Burnley at the time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it is bizarre. I mean, Sean Dyche, obviously, you know, we'll all get behind him, and he done a good job at Burnley with not much money, but it is mad to think that's what's happened. I mean, imagine just going back 2 years. Not in two seasons. It's not that long, really. And we're third in the Premier League. Champions League is on. I'm not saying we thought we'd get it, but we're well in the race. We're third coming into February. Who'd have said imagine in just 2 short years you'll have had Rafa Benitez as your manager, Frank Lampard. You'll be on to Sean Dyche, and for the second season running, you're up against it to stay up in the Premier League.
Like when you say it like that, if you come away from the situation, it's not hard, is it, to look? If you look back, with a little bit of distance and look back at trajectories of managers and trajectories of players leaving and then the new ones coming in, it's steady. Football's not that hard. We can talk all day about directors of football and the ins and outs of ownership and FFP, but it ain't that hard, is it? If you replace good people with bad people, this is what happens. You replace a Carlo Ancelotti, and then within 2 managers, you're on to Sean Dyche. And don't get me wrong, I actually personally think Sean Dyche is better than Frank Lampard and Rafa Benitez. So I'm not massively down on that. But if you look at the players, it's not massively hard. It's not rocket science. Don't need a genius. And Everton just need to. They need some adults. They need to let the adults start running the place rather than.
No, one man definitely needs to.
Well, we know. Listen, reading that, just to be serious for moments, and I've give the boys at the Athletic a little bit of a kicking recently. But there was an article yesterday that they done, and it was really good. Charting the day and the month, and it's to read it sounds like it sounds like a film starring Brad Pitt and probably George Clooney, and how they are it's like Brewster's Millions essentially. A bit, yeah. It's like the modern Brewster's Millions where you're just trying your best to get everything wrong on purpose.
Yeah,
for whatever reason, I don't know why they'd be doing that.
Yeah,
but that's what it sounds like, and they've done it. They've done it like so. Fair play to them for getting it so spectacularly wrong.
Well, they've done
really well.
They've done well to try and blow it all up.
They have brilliant stuff.
And people are leaving, and other people might be walking out the door. It's on fire at the moment, and something needs to happen. Let's hope that this American investment, which is bobbling around, let's hope that are serious, come in and change the whole board and the owner and everything.
But the problem with that though is that, as we've discussed many times on here, this isn't a quick fix. Is that the only fix to actually make this better is wholesale change. Everything needs to go. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if Moshiri is saying that the club in its entirety is not for sale, which I believe he is saying, which was to quash press reports that indicated the opposite. If he's now saying that he is seeking investment from this American sports conglomerate, whatever you want to call it, that is still going to give him the majority share, is it not, in terms of control? And therefore, why should we expect any kind of change from what we see at the minute if further money is injected?
No, that's a fair comment. I think this I mean, let's be honest, these are like a venture capital group, aren't they? Really. So everyone they get involved in, they have significant say with as well, even if it's a small shareholder, and that's how they work. So he would, I think it'd be a place on the board for someone. But my hope is that he is seduced by the money. As in, once they get in and they start saying, this isn't going to work if we do this, let us take it out, let us buy it. That's what I'm hoping.
I see it as if these people did get in, and looking at who they are, and we have done a little bit of research on this and what they do, and one of the guys, the guy who's at Goodison, ironically, when the board never turned up, he's about to partly sell the Phoenix Suns for $4 billion.
Yeah.
He's not the owner; he's an investor, so he's going to get a large chunk of that. And the other guys, one of the guys has been involved in sports agents for years. In fact, he was part of Jerry Maguire. He was a technical support on Jerry Maguire. Jerry Maguire. Okay. So these are people who've got some who know what they're doing, and I think if they get shares and that helps finish off the stadium, and they get on the board, and then they start throwing their weight around, because it wouldn't be that hard to throw your weight around, I don't think, on our board. No. Then I think maybe what would happen then is Mashiri would get seduced by somebody else picking up the slack that maybe he feels he's got to pick up. And then what will happen is then maybe it'll be a slow one where he either sells to these people or they flip it and help him sell it. But there's got to be fresh voices on there.
He would put it this way: you come in with money and you've got that experience, he is more likely to listen to you than he is the board immediately. So you're one up, aren't you? You're one up because you've got a shareholding. You're more powerful than what members of the board are immediately, and you've got his ear and their experience. That's the biggest thing. It isn't just money. The most attractive bit of it, Dave, is that they have got experience in sports.
And potentially influence in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose, who thought that we'd be saying this, 12 months on from when Newcastle were looking like, they were going to be the richest club to get relegated. And also who would have put money on the fact that Eddie Howe would have done such a good job there. But almost the Newcastle model is exactly what we need, in terms of the fact that they had new ownership and they came in, and Ped, you said this before, and they completely got rid of everything. All of those people, all gone. All of our own people instated, and wholesale change. We have the money, we're going to buy who we want, we're going to get rid of Steve Bruce, we're going to install our own manager, etc., etc., etc. And it's worked wonders. I mean, it's incredible what's happened there.
And it's not that hard either. Again, when you look at the flip side from what we've been talking about, how you get from where we were to where we are. But I don't think it's that hard to get from where they were to where they are now when you do, like you've just said. And also, they brought in the director of football, who's like the best in the game in this country, or seen as the best in this game. They brought him in, and they brought better players in than they had. And, good, honest pros. I mean, you only have to listen to one of the Sean Dyche podcasts. I think it might be, which is the latest one. Sorry, the Jake Humphreys one.
Oh, the high performance one.
And he's talking, he's talking up the Newcastle fullback. That name escapes me because I'm Trippier. He's talking up him loads and loads and loads. Well, that was their first signing. That was literally their first signing, wasn't it? At Newcastle.
He's a good player. I'd have had him.
But not only is he a good player, but clearly he's a leader. And clearly has a massive influence, and he sets standards, and he's one of those kind of guys, almost like, I don't know, like a James Milner at Liverpool or a Gareth Barry at Everton, one of those kind of guys to set the standard. He's the first in the door. He starts changing the atmosphere of the way things are, and everything goes from there, and you've got good people, Dan Ashworth behind the scenes, Eddie Howe, decent coach, and they're doing things just in the right way, and they're probably way ahead of schedule, but they've got that bounce now, and the crowd are on it, and they're attracting. They took Anthony Gordon. Not that I'm not that bothered, but he's probably looking
at the cup final to look forward to.
Got a cup final, and you know what? Fair play to him, because like Newcastle fans have tried to get a rivalry with Everton for years, and I don't quite understand why. But I don't begrudge them this, because actually, I do begrudge it loads. But it's almost like, forget the owners; they've done everything in the right way. Do you know what I mean? And
they're the results,
and they're getting the results for it. And I always think, well, doesn't matter who it is. You know, Liverpool in the last few years, it's been horrible to watch, but for the most part, they've done it the correct way in terms of going out, getting good players, trying to build the team, and they're going to go through the cycle, and that's the way to do it.
Not hard, mate.
It isn't that hard. I don't think it's that hard.
If you leave people who are experienced and qualified to do their roles, it isn't difficult. And it's Everton's biggest issue. Still hearing things now that they're not allowing Kevin Thelwell to do his job. No. So what's the point?
Yeah. How many times have we had the best director in football installed in Steve Walsh, and then obviously we had Marcel Brands, and now we have Kevin Thelwell. But ultimately, you know, there are. Listen, we can guess and suspect and stuff, but ultimately we don't know what the root problem is. And again, you know, we keep mentioning it, but I keep going back to that image of Marcel Brands walking out of the director's box in the main stand, kind of saying, you know, do you think it's just me? You know, to the fan who was berating him then, and it ended up on YouTube. And I think it was a very, very telling thing. Here we are in a situation which, you know, a couple of years on hasn't got any better. In fact, has got dramatically worse. I mean, the only thing I would say in terms of what you were just describing before with Newcastle and Kieran Trippier, for example, is that there was a feel-good factor, and there were parallels with that in the signings of Tarkowski and obviously the loan deal for Connor Cody, which we assumed was going to be rubber stamped at the end of the season. More on that later. But they seemed to be really, really good signings in terms of the character that we needed in the dressing room. And actually, I still stand by that. I still think that they were two inspired signings. But then the wheels have just come off so much.
I think,
and I'm not laying blame at their door necessarily. Yes, you know, performances have needed to improve across the first team squad front to back. But I still think that they are the right people to have in that dressing room. But how the rest of it has gone so spectacularly wrong is, I don't know what to say anymore. I really don't.
No, well, all we can say is that we've got a new manager. We know what we're going with, although we're being linked with every free agent. Isco and Ayew yesterday. But we think we know what we've got now for the rest of the season. Ellis Sims has gone after, you know, he might be the X factor that we don't realise. He might come up with a couple of goals or whatever, but it's going to rely on Dominic Calvert-Lewin staying fit. I imagine we will have a good structure for the rest of the season, and we'll be harder to beat under Sean Dyche. That's what I think will happen. And Everton, you know, aren't down right now. We're a win off 40. I keep saying it, and people keep reminding me we haven't won since October. I get that, but we've also got someone new.
Do you think that, you know, going back to what Dave was saying there about characters in the dressing room, do you think that maybe Frank Lampard was just too weak as a manager and too weak as a personality to crack the whip when it needed cracking? Because I look at those two fellas and I think if they were the only two in the dressing room, I'm sure there's more, but if they were the only two, say, and it was like, well, why should we listen to you two old fellas? Well, you know, if you've got the backing of your manager going, you know, you better respect these two fellas. If these tell you, you know, these are my leaders or whatever, you better respect them. Do you think he might have been too weak? And that's where Sean Dyche will make a difference. You know, we've already seen the videos of him doing the bleep tests, making people sick, and basically saying straight away the discipline's going to be tighter and it's going to be hard work. And if you don't like it, then tough. But this is what we're going to do.
I think compared to Frank Lampard, I think Frank. Sometimes you look at where they come from. So Frank Lampard's had not talking about his private life and the way, but he played for West Ham and went to Chelsea. He was at Chelsea for a top team where he was in a dressing room with John Terry and people like that. Tremendous leader, whatever else he was. John Terry, but a very good leader, very good defender. Culture's there, the winning. Jose Mourinho would have been strict. But Frank Lampard has always been someone who motivated himself, always. when he was a kid after training at West Ham, he would go out with a ball for another half an hour and practice finishing and stuff like that. So he's never needed anybody to get him up for games ever, right? And also he's been successful. Left Chelsea, went to Manchester City, very successful. Left Manchester City, went to New York City, a different type of football and what have you. And then he's come into management. And he's had Derby at a time where, he was at Derby. And then Chelsea again, world-class footballers, but again, players at the top who don't need motivating. Sean Dyche has had a totally different trajectory. Journeyman centre-back, he said it himself, good, decent career, but lower down. Had to work hard at Burnley. What sacked from his Watford job because it just didn't quite go. Went to Burnley, done a good job at Burnley, but never any money. All about hard work and effort and structure. So he's come in. He'll come in there. Now we're Frank Lampard, I think. And we heard this a couple of times in interviews or press conferences of, have you spoke to the players about that? And he's like, well, shouldn't need to speak to them. It's not, I shouldn't need to. Where I think Sean Dyche doesn't do that. I think Sean Dyche says, you will run. You will put the effort in. And if you don't, I will play this other fella instead of you, and I'll do that. And maybe that, Frank maybe put too much confidence into them give them too much leeway to come up with the answers themselves. Maybe. I wasn't in the dressing room, I don't know. But I think Sean Dyche will try to manage it a bit tighter.
Can I just jump in on the point that Ped, you were saying in terms of, maybe not being strong enough, etc., etc. And this takes me back to the conversation that we had last week or the week before, and we were talking about possibles for taking over the management. And I was saying, well, at least if you put in a Duncan or someone like that, you were going to get somebody who was going to convey in literal detail the thoughts of the Gladys Street about an inch from the noses of these players. And the argument that came back was the fact that, do modern day players respond to that anymore, which is a fair point. And I honestly don't know. And I think also there's not a one size fits all in that respect. I think certain players will and certain players won't. But in his defense, and we actually said this at the beginning of the season with regards to Frank Lampard, is that he seemed to be creating a really good and relaxed and happy culture. Now, that relaxed and happy culture would seem to have gone wrong, but we enjoyed the fact that he was treating the players with respect. He was one of them. He was the first to go over and give them big hugs. There was big smiles and stuff like that. And it felt like they were playing for him because they respected him and they respected the way that everybody was being treated. And I would agree with you. I think that Frank Lampard is, and I don't know him personally, I've never spent any time with him, but it's difficult to imagine him losing his rag at halftime and just going batshit in the dressing room and throwing cups of tea around, etc., etc. You can't imagine that because he's got more about him. He's a classier individual than that, in my opinion. Now, so I'm not sure that I would describe that as a weakness, and maybe he was doing what he felt was the right way to respect and communicate and inspire and encourage the players that he had at his disposal in the modern day. However, we now have a situation where that seemingly hasn't worked. We have a completely different tack. We're in a desperate situation without any doubt. And Sean Dyche has come in. And I would agree with you. I think he's probably the best man for the job at this moment in time, given the options that we had or didn't have in front of us. And I think 100% we have to back him. We have to get all galvanized together because, as we said before, and even when I was talking about it with regards to somebody like Duncan, is that the only thing that is going to keep us up between now and the end of the season, and it's a tall order, especially when you look at the fixtures, which I did the other day again, and it's thoroughly depressing. And I don't know why it should be depressing because it's the same sides we know, but the balance of aways and stuff like that towards the end, and I'm just like, oh God, where's the points coming from then? It looks really, we've really got to get some points on the board in the next few weeks because it starts to get really grim after that, in my opinion. But the only thing that is going to get us over the line is absolute sleeves rolled up, blood and thunder. complete effort. It's going to be a battle. It's got to be dogs of war. It's got to be all of those things and then some, because we're not going to get out of this playing pretty football. We don't have the personnel to do it. It's going to have to be a fight. Every game needs to be a cup final. And then and only then do we even stand a fighting chance of actually staying up and bagging 17th, which we would be delighted about at the moment.
Absolutely. I think we are going to move on now. All I'd say just very quickly is players love an excuse. So while results are going your way, they'll love all of them hugs and all that. The minute you start losing games, if they notice a weakness or they can hide behind something, they switch off. And it's like anything, you can get players to do anything if you're winning. Simeone can get players forwards to run back and dive in, tackling because they're doing well. If they got to 10th, 11th, they'd stop doing it.
There's other things as well, which we've spoke about privately, that I think come into it. The fact that
I know what you're alluding to. No, there's things that I would like to say on here as well. Frankly, I can't say.
Okay, I think I can say one thing. I don't believe personally, and this is my personal view. I don't think it's personally healthy when your manager, your family live 250 miles away from where you
and all your coaching staff
from where you work. I don't think that's healthy, and I don't think that's healthy by any manager. It's why Mourinho failed at Man United. He was living in a hotel. He was living in the Lowry Hotel. I don't think that's healthy.
Well, I think it's worse if you've got a team of 5 here, but all your families live.
That's what I'm saying.
If 3 of them live up here, then they can take a day's training when Mondays are off.
I don't think that's healthy. I don't think, especially having a young family as well. I don't personally think that's healthy. So, I mean, you can think whatever you want about that, but I don't think that's healthy at all. So, I think that creates the best environment.
Right.
Yeah, but in fairness, though, it didn't. In from what I can see, it didn't create a. I don't think there was any issue with Frank Lampard kind of assimilating himself into the club and even ingratiating himself with the fans.
No, he was excellent at that.
There was no question.
He was excellent at that.
Listen, I agree with you in theory. Of course I do. And in an ideal world, then yes, it's important to be part of the city or town and the community which you're representing. Of course it is.
And he did.
However, I don't think in any way that we can cite that for Frank Lampard's downfall. And I think that his commitment to Everton Football Club from the first day to the last day, and I mean his parting statement I thought was really classy.
Yeah.
He is though, isn't he? I have spent some time with him, and he is a very nice man. Was he good enough? Well, no results dictate whether you're good enough.
Yeah.
Regardless, and his results weren't good enough, and he deserved to be sacked. And that's the top. Same as what we said. I couldn't sit here. Who would I rather sit down and have a coffee with, Frank Lampard or Rafa Benitez? Frank Lampard 100 times out of 100. But I sat there last season and said Benitez had to go. 1 win in 14 is a disgrace. I couldn't sit here when Frank Lampard had the same record and go, I think he needs another 3. He deserves to go 100%. He's really, if we'd have sacked him in November, I would have thought it's a bit harsh, right? Because we'd had a decent run and we're on a little bit of a bad run. However, if you're going to sack him 3 or 4, and we all said this to be fair, if you're going to sack him a few games into January, then you may as well have sacked him in November and at that period of time.
And everybody else sort of
and everybody else
that,
did. Or we definitely should have sacked him after Brighton and given, because we had 2 games against teams in the bottom 3. But anyway, we didn't. Right, that's enough football because it's grim.
If you had the choice of having a cup of tea with Nigel Farage or Rafa Benitez, which one would you go for?
I'd go with Benitez. Because why?
No, I would 100% go with Benitez.
Because I want to know, is his tunnel pass, is it still there? Does it still work? When he came back, his fast pass from the Whittle, was it?
Do you know those clickers from The Last of Us?
You'd rather have them than Farage.
I would rather have a cup of tea with a clicker from The Last of Us.
Scary, then.
But have you not seen Nigel Farage?
He is terrifying. To be fair, he's terrifying. He might be a clicker for all we know. You never know.
I don't think he's got the intelligence to be a clicker. Dave, you have no idea what we're talking about, do you?
Think?
No.
You're not, because I can tell straight away. Because you go out your bike, you don't ever play on PlayStation games. I know that straight away.
No, do you know what? I don't.
Have you ever been into gaming at all?
No, never.
Oh, Dave,
you're
missing out, my mate. You're missing out.
Part of me feels bad for you, then the other part goes, No, he lives in a little village. He's got a woman who cuts his hair and he rides a bike.
Yeah, but
he's living the life that we all dream of.
She's threatening because the Scottish accent feels a bit scary. You know what I mean? He looks like Lautaro Martinez as well.
By the way, I need to put myself in again.
Oh, I'm in tomorrow.
Gillian. I mean, I need to text her.
Right,
Can I just say, I've got visions of Dave riding his bike next to a canal, and a man comes past on a barge, and they have a friendly conversation as he goes past, and it's just great.
This is the man.
It's just great. It's like the human version of the Wind in the Willows.
This is the man. This is the man that paddleboarded to get pasties.
There you go.
From a bakery. Paddleboarded actual
you
water.
You because you're the badger man.
I'd love it. The badger
so you're
man.
The badger man. I'm not sure what Dave would
I'd be tremendous in that village. Tremendous.
There you go.
Well, what a place.
You'll have to come down. We can go paddleboarding together.
I just watch you paddleboard. I like the idea of sitting watching the paddleboarding, eating the pasty. Yeah. That's what I like the idea of watching.
Isn't there a paddleboarding night in the townhouse, or is that called something else?
Don't know. Something like that. Remember when Ned was going to Guantanamo Bay Water Park to be waterboarded, and he loved it.
Can I just raise a couple of things?
Go on.
Just while we're in a kind of mid session.
I have got some topics, but go on.
No, it's fine.
Go on.
There's a couple of things because I'll forget otherwise.
Yeah, go on, mate.
To your right, Barry, as we look at this, and I'm not sure how this will be arranged on screen.
Go on, that's fine.
No. But I mean, there's pictures on here, and this goes onto Instagram and whatnot. Now, to your right, there is the away shirt, the NEC away shirt, circa 92 to 94, etc., etc. Now, certain people, and I totally understand why, have given me stick on social media for having a red or what looks like a red sofa behind me. There. Yeah. But actually, the look I was going for has been beautifully demonstrated by said shirt there, because I would argue that you can see that shirt, the salmon, is the same colour as your couch. Sofa.
It is
absolutely, and so
salmon pink.
That was the colour combination that I was going for.
Exactly. You've got the blue cushion and the salmon pink.
Absolutely. And for all those people that were giving me stick, I think that if you look at the corner of Barry's screen, there we go, and then you look at my sofa, there we go, you will see exactly what I was trying to achieve.
Dave. Synergy.
And that's what I was trying to achieve. That's point one. The second point is, do I need to speak to HR about a leave form for next Tuesday, the 7th of February, if we're recording then, only because I can't be around and I don't want to get slagged off in the same way that we rightly slag Bush off for not taking this seriously.
Can I just interject as part of HR with the leave form? We are trying to make the threesome back into a foursome, which it was, and therefore it is always better.
Keys in a bowl.
Keys in a bowl full. With no bush, or bush as it happens, and obviously we need
enough bush.
Not enough bush. So what we need to do is
we need that dry-witted bush.
We do, is to reconvene at a time that suits everybody. Well, reinstate, but reconvene at a time that suits everybody. So therefore, David, Tuesday may not be an issue because we may actually remove let's get the heads together, all in the bush, and see what happens.
Okay, fine. Well, I just, and I appreciate that this could be handled off air, but I thought, well, while we're here now, anyway,
let's do it live.
People are interested.
People are interested
in the workings of how this works. This isn't just thrown together willy and indeed nilly. There's a lot of thought and process goes into this. And I just wanted people to understand.
Absolutely.
That's my name, you tit.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. We want to be back, don't he? I'm Bush. That's my name, you tit. He wants to be back.
I'm Bush.
Mike Cosgrove, who is one of our premier members and absolutely loves this
Number
podcast.
One fan of the podcast.
Number one fan of the podcast. He loves it.
And also on deadline day, Dave, when we got stuck for content, we decided, because Mike is a little bit challenged on the hairline,
challenged,
we decided to try and do a Everton bold 11.
Yeah.
And honest to God, it gave us about an hour's worth of
content. People were loving it. It was live.
Oh, no, we can't go into it again.
It was live. People were loving it. People were loving it, and it was something. Although people were trying to claim people were baldy when they weren't, it was scandalous, Dave. It was scandalous. You'd have no chance of getting in.
I'm struggling.
Fine hair.
Gravison.
Well, you see, he couldn't have had Gravison because he wasn't bald when he signed.
Yeah.
He had no. The bald is he can't be having hair down here either, mate. You can't have the egg in the nest. That's not baldy. You can't have hair starting
I
at the
can't
back.
think of any proper pure slap.
And that's why we
And
got an
that's
hour
why
out of it,
we
Dave.
got an hour out of it, Dave, but we did. Andy Johnson.
Yeah, okay,
You know.
yeah.
So straight off the bat, there you go.
Yeah.
Tim Howard. There you
Yes,
go.
yeah.
So, well, you know, we'll do that. If you want to play this game, Dave, we'll do it. But
Just
we're
not
doing
today.
It. We're not doing it now.
Okay, fine. Well, we'll save it for like a quiet week.
We will. So, follically challenged Michael
has
asked us whether or not we believe that the US landed on the moon in 1969. And if so, why has nobody been back and done a full proper video of them having a game of football? People, Mike, that bit's wrong because people have been back. But so let's start with that because I'll go first.
No, let's start with Dave because I know your views and you will dampen the whole thing.
I know, but I could have got mine.
Let's get
you could
Dave's
have told me
opinion first on moon
Dave,
landings.
did the United States land on the moon in 1969, despite only a few months earlier not having a clue how to get there? So go on. Did they all of a sudden just get there?
Do you know, it's interesting you say that because this was something that only became a debate in my head about 3 or 4 years ago because I had always just assumed, as we had done, it was a part of history, it was a moment in time, and obviously it happened, and we have the video and audio proof,
of course,
that we need. However, then actually there's been conspiracy theories for decades, but I was only made aware of conspiracy theories in a conversation similar to this.
Okay.
And then the whole point that you rightly raise in so much as, well, if that was in 1969, right, which is, what's that, 54 years ago?
That's right. Wow.
Scarily.
Yeah.
You know, it's 54 years ago, and it's never been replicated to the same extent. We have never seen an updated modern version of Neil Armstrong walking around on the moon and that little moon buggy thing and the flag going in there. Why have we never seen that in HD and full Technicolor or whatever it is?
I can give you a reason, but
no, go on, Dave.
Well, I know. In fact, Ped, have we not even had this conversation before? It sort of feels like maybe we have, but I know that you'll have an opinion on this. But I guess
go on.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The lightning and shadows and wind blowing and all that has made me just think it's Area 51. But there you go.
They 100% went to the moon.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, I don't believe you, but I love the way you show
the Russians landed something on the moon in 1959.
No, I know.
That's 10 years before.
I know. But
and they worked trying to get to the moon for years and years and years. In fact, don't forget, JFK did the speech and got shot in 1963. So it wasn't a few months.
What he said was by the end of this decade we'll be on the moon. And
the reason why they haven't gone back to the
full
moon
Everton on deadline day.
It costs millions and billions and billions of pounds
to do anything.
Billions of pounds.
Yeah. They keep doing it to Mars. No one's ever going to Mars. And never living on Mars.
Don't worry.
No, they're not.
It costs billions to fly to a barren rock. Why would you do that when we've got all these problems down on Earth?
Your argument does fall
down.
Political.
It doesn't. It's a political hot potato, and they'll be going back to the moon very, very soon, and then they'll kick on to Mars.
And then you'll see.
Don't you worry about it.
When they go to the moon, they're looking for that flag. It'll be gone. There was no flag
it'll
there.
Still be there.
No, it won't.
It'll still be there.
It won't. They never went. And then Mike's next.
100% went.
Yeah. So we're going. Dave will. Yeah, I 100% say they didn't go. Ped thinks
I'm not
they
sure.
did go. You've got to decide on both.
Why do you not think they went, Dave? For what reason?
I'm just saying that it has been put into doubt because
by
of the
experts.
Why
not by experts. Not by experts.
Okay, now this isn't based on science.
Go on.
Very little of what I say is. But on the basis that we have two polar opposite decisions here from Barrington, yourself, and from Peter.
The Batman, you can call me, is what Ned calls me.
Is that I think that if I had to go one way or the other, I would probably have to side with Ped, only because I think that Ped is more likely to have done the research to support his argument than you, Barry, which actually is a kind of a compliment to you, Baz, because I think that you're more normal.
Yeah.
If you think I've done the research and that research is watching a lot of films, then you would be correct.
I've watched lots of documentaries on
You're
it,
quite
which
a thorough
prove
person,
that they
though,
haven't gone.
It is. They have 100% been. 100% been. And the reason why,
and I'm also a scientist,
is because of
the two scientists.
Because of
the
people. The people who went are so adamant. Buzz Aldrin punched a man in the face because man in the face
because that's his legacy.
When he was
his
accused.
legacy.
Neil Armstrong was a very
Lee Harvey Oswald shot John F. Kennedy.
No, of course he did. Yeah. We know that.
100% shot.
We know that. But the thing is though, okay. All right.
And think he killed John Lennon as well.
Here's the counter.
The fella killed John Lennon.
Well, we know that because
Mark Chapman it was.
We know because he had Catching the Rye in his...
Not the same one that Hope
not the same one.
No.
But he did shoot him. We know he shot him because he had Catching the Rye in his pocket, and everyone knows Catching the Rye is the book used to brainwash people.
Farhad Mashiri, 100%
right.
owns
So I want to know.
Right.
I want to know why you think they didn't go to the moon.
I've told you. I've given you all.
No, I want to know why. No. What's the explanation?
The explanation is that they were running out of time. The stuff they want.
That's not. No, that's not. No, I would. If you give me a good explanation,
I'm giving you.
That's not the explanation. No, because you've got to have the counterpoint.
I haven't finished, and he's shaking his head. They were running out of time to say it's America. By the way, you've got to look at it. It was the race, the space race. It's literally a name for it, and they couldn't achieve it. Right, it wasn't going to be done at the end of the decade, right, which would have meant America losing face. Then the evidence of them being on the moon is the biggest load of nonsense ever. It is. If you watch it, it's not.
You can't.
Legit.
Hang on.
Scientifically, it's wrong.
These people, it's hard. You can't say the science is wrong when these people are just sitting in their armchairs. Now, if you'd give me the explanation of, or the argument of, they faked it to bankrupt Russia, I would use that as a good reason. So they bankrupt Russia.
And
that would be because I think if you're gonna have a point, it's always good to have the counterpoint to use as an argument.
Give you the counterpoint.
I don't think running out of time is
I don't think you realise what America is like for a global
JFK said it, and they shot him, so they weren't really that arse.
So that's the fit. So they didn't go to the moon. That's what we've come to.
2-1 vote.
And then the second one. Well, Dave's vote really.
They voted for me.
What Dave's done is gone with you.
Exactly.
But that's fine. That's fine, but he wasn't convincing.
If I had to go one way or the other, and when you talk about bankrupting Russia, are we back to Everton's ownership issues or not?
Well, only Farhad Mashiri has ever been involved.
Everton are the new Cold War.
No, Everton only Farhad Mashiri.
But as we told Ned yesterday,
no one's been able to prove it.
As we told Ned yesterday, the Cold War was actually just a war fought in a very cold place.
When there was a few months.
What's your other possibly safer discussion?
So Mike's one was Noah's Ark. How did it work?
Yeah, that was a good one.
It's interesting because he's put a picture and he's laughing with the elephants and the giraffe are just chilling on the image. I'll put the image in the group for us.
Yeah.
And you can see that they are just... It's a great picture, Dave, so I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
I like the fact that you had to send us a picture of Noah's Ark, so we
Mike sent it to me.
But lads, just in case you don't know what Noah's Ark is a picture, lad. They went in 2x2. All right,
it's the picture.
Okay. Listen, here's what I think. Is that I'm less convinced about Noah's Ark happening.
Yeah. I am.
Than I am about the moon landings.
Okay, I will concede.
As controversial as that may be.
It feels controversial.
Yeah. And I don't want to be in any way controversial, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, to those who are archists.
Yeah.
But I don't believe necessarily that Noah.
Tremendous image.
Got all of those different animals from around the animal kingdom.
Look at the elephants on the picture chilling.
2x2.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure.
What if he had 4 elephants and 2 are coming in, but the other 2 not allowed in? Who's stopping an elephant from walking up the ramp? No, but who? Realistically, who's stopping the elephant? Elephants are massive.
Who gave the invites out?
Exactly.
Who went round to the lions?
I will. And why are lions just chilling? Lions going, all right, lad. What you'd have to say to the lions is, listen, there's loads of birds up there, and you don't have to look for food. And the lion.
But then you'd be killing the thing you need.
No, but you're telling the lion. You've got to sell it to the lion.
But if you're not got a backup policy, what if the lions get a bit nuts one day, kill one of the elephants, and you're down to 1 elephant?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you need like a backup ark?
I don't know whether you'd have a backup ark. Maybe like a K. I don't know.
Here's the other part of the story that's never been explained.
Go on.
Is that obviously they all get put in the ark two by two.
Yeah.
And we're assuming that these are representatives of every type of species in the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
Right?
Which, I mean, it's been a big ark.
Then they get put in the ark.
Yeah.
And the ark then goes to sea when the great floods come.
Yeah.
Right? And then they go off to sea. Then what happens, right? When do they get redispatched back to whence they came? When does that?
I think what everyone else is. I mean, what I would say is it's a good job that wherever they rock up, there isn't a Nigel Farage equivalent there, because they would have been sent back. You can't get in, mate. So you don't look like you're from
they'd have been sent to Rwanda.
Exactly.
It would have been difficult to have actually sailed to Rwanda because I'm pretty sure it's entirely landlocked.
It is landlocked. Mind you, though, the water, Dave.
Yeah. But
water.
It still proves practical problems.
There is problems, yeah.
Where did the ark start the journey?
Wherever it was.
Wherever it was.
Africa, I imagine. You've got lions and elephants.
No,
and
well,
things
it wasn't though, because it was like Iran, wasn't it?
Well, it was over in the Persian Gulf.
So it was like because that's the cradle of existence, and people say that's where they were.
Yeah, but we'd have had to
how did you get the lion? Did you walk the lions through Africa and then into the ark, or did it do like a stop off? Did it do
also,
when you get a coach like to watch an Everton away game, they stop at like 5 different places, don't they? That's what
you mean, like the coaches do.
Yeah,
so in other words, he'd stop at the Rocket.
Yeah, he'd be the Rocket. So they'd be, hang on, are we off? No, listen, we've got to stop
Monday,
at the island there because we've got the lions.
Tuesday,
the lions are waiting.
Egypt.
But hang on. Yeah, okay, but what about? So, at what point
Junction 7
all the Australian animals that have to come into play, because they only exist over there? So you're gonna have to do a stop there because you've got kangaroos to get in there, you've got dingoes, you've got wombats.
It's how quick you can. It's how quick you can get round there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wherever the floods were, it just be get high as you can, because we don't know when we're getting there. There was no timetable, was there? It was just they're just going for it. It brings a lot of problems.
It's got inconsistencies.
Logistical issues.
It's got inconsistencies.
So what I would say is I will concede that it's more likely that the United States landed on the moon in 1969 than Noah's Ark. I am willing to concede that.
Step.
That is a bold step from me.
I tell you, no, I'm with you. I think 100%. I think if we've achieved anything today, I think to actually all agree that there is more chance that the moon landings happen than Noah's Ark actually happened. Which actually, when you analyse it, is actually a very disappointing story.
It is, because I'd rather come out this with the Ark being more likely.
It just, I mean,
how did they bend the wood? And how did they make it?
It doesn't.
And also, you can't do that on your own, right? So this was just Noah. He had no.
He had a family.
He did have a family.
Were they all helping him?
I think they helped him, because you wouldn't leave your family. Did they only take 2 of his family? Sorry, mate, there's 2 by 2. No, there was more there. Did someone say there's no chance of that working? There's no chance of that.
How would that work within his family?
Noah said he did. He said that. He's not going to say it, is he? He's not picking his
kids. Name West?
Noah West. Oh. Noah East. Noah Chance's bleeding name should have been. We've got some.
This just fallen down. It feels like it's. Go on.
The other thing is that, he would have had to been located very close to a forest, because unless he had a juicens or something there, right, he wouldn't be able to get that volume of wood.
A juicens.
Also, did he have a screw fix?
Yeah, it was there. But how's he nailing the wood together? Has he just gone rock? Has he just shards?
I think he had hammers. He wasn't in the Stone Age.
Yeah, but he wasn't. I'm not being funny, mate. I was going to say, if you'd ever nailed a thing and the nails bent. But all I'd say is, when we build things in here, he's far from it, right?
I painted this bleeding wall.
How many screws?
You couldn't reach the high parts.
Who painted most of it? Me. And you got the high parts. That was it. That isn't you painting the wall.
Can I just say, isn't there a place in America where they've made a replica of the Ark, and it's called like the Ark Project, and it's these people.
So how have they nailed it together?
Because it's 2023. But I'm saying there's a place in America where there's a where they've built
Marty
an Ark.
McFly wasn't part of the bleeding
team. They built an Ark, and it's called the Ark Project, and it's these people maybe we need to do a pod visit to this place and have a chat with them.
All right, well, let's do some.
But I think this opens up an interesting segment within the show. Of
while we think about it,
how we think about conspiracy theories
got some
or
very
crackpot
quick fire
lunatic
ones.
Stories.
Quick fire ones to finish off, right?
Yeah.
Gareth Hughes says number one singles on the day you were born. Whose was best?
Oh, I think I know mine.
Hang on, so we're gonna have to say it now, aren't we?
I'm sure mine was something really
inconvenient. Right, hang on, I'll tell you mine.
Do you want mine while you look?
Go on, if you've got yours.
I think mine was Tiger Feet by Mud.
That is a good one.
I really love your Tiger Feet.
That is a good one.
Nice. That's not a bad song, that Dave. Mine'll be rubbish, won't it?
I'm sure
I think
mine.
so. Let me just double check because I wouldn't want to be kind of broadcasting.
I think I've just cracked the
won?
code. I think I've just won.
Go on then.
Mine is, and I'm not sure if this is UK. Oh no, there's. I've got. Hang on. So my one in the UK was Mary's Boy Child,
Belter
by Boney M. But apparently my number one in America was Le Freak by Chic.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Mine was Amazing Grace by the Royal Scots Band.
Sorry, I've just found another
awful,
one.
And it was Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, and it was number one for weeks.
Isn't
5
another
weeks.
one? The number one country song on my on my birthday was On My Knees.
I mean, that's apt for you in the townhouse. That is perfect. Okay, let's move on. Well, David, what have you?
Hang on. 2 seconds. Just please hold.
I think Ped's won.
What I don't get is at the bottom of this thing, there's an advert for intermittent fasting for seniors.
Oh! Hang on.
Fair enough. Go on, Dave.
Why is there a bear next to an old woman?
Bear
Hey,
Grylls.
listen, I said that it was
Bear Wrinkles.
Tiger Feet by Mud.
Yeah.
I think it's now saying on this website that it was Seasons in the Sun by Terry Jacks.
Ooh, that's a tremendous
Is that as
song.
in, we had joy,
Yeah.
we had fun.
We had Seasons in the Sun.
Ned,
Sad song, actually.
Ned, you need to put this picture on the screen in a moment. It's
sad
unbelievable.
Song. Okay, next one. Mr. H88 says, Mackey's, Burger King, Five Guys, or Nando's. Who has the best chips?
Five Guys. Five Guys. Unbelievable.
Okay.
They're unbelievable.
I'm not fully familiar with. I mean, I've had their chips, but I wouldn't be able to tell you whether they were. I would go with McDonald's.
Okay,
Dave, that's a weak one.
I'm gonna go Nando's.
That's a weak one. That's I love them. Ned, have you got that picture?
I'm going Nando's.
I think Five Guys is too expensive, personally.
It is very expensive.
And
it's like
the calories are horrific.
Oh God!
Like 2.5 for a burger and chips. It's 2,500 calories. For a McDonald's equivalent, it's like 800 or something.
Ned, come on, man, make it fit.
Okay. Other sports where the management of the club has been comparable to Everton. Other sports clubs. Griffey says the Detroit Lions. Easy.
I don't know.
And Glenn says Cleveland Browns.
I
don't know. That's hard, that one. That's hard.
I wouldn't even have brought it up.
What was that? What was that football team that Winnie Mandela had years ago?
I don't know, but it might have not been great.
Dave's got deep dive there.
And Dave's gone into and there's the last one. Glenn Watson says, favourite board game of all time. Mr. H888 says, that's a trap trying to find the Tories. You say Monopoly. I see what you did there. Glenn said, I always like Mousetrap. Favourite board game of all time?
I don't.
Do we like board games?
I do like board games.
I'm not sort of the wrong era for board games.
I like board games.
I was straight onto the
Cluedo, I don't mind.
Nintendo
Bit of Cluedo. Bit of Trivial Pursuit, because obviously general knowledge questions.
Remember when that was a thing? Remember when you, like, people in the 80s, like, I don't know, not personally, I was too young, but like people would go, oh yeah, we're having a dinner party and we'll have Trivial Pursuit afterwards and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can do that. Well, I got one. I'll just say this one very quickly. I got one, because we do like the Al quizzes, me missus or whatever. And I got outsmarted for Christmas. So basically, it's a live quiz. So it's always updated. So you just have it on like your laptop or whatever. Tremendous. And it's like a modern day Trivial Pursuit.
Beautiful.
And it's tremendous. So there you go.
Now just put that
advert
on the screen for me.
Just to finish.
Hey, just look at your phone and have a look at this advert.
Look at this advert that has been on.
Look at this advert.
It's popped up for Ped.
It's incredible. On your WhatsApp.
Look on your phone, the WhatsApp. This has popped up for Ped.
Incredible.
This is tremendous. Would the 65-year-old want to be that close to a bear?
The one about it, that is people on the
No,
podcast.
it will do, because it will now be on the screen, Dave, for people to see.
No,
people listening.
People listening have been had off, but...
Yeah. For seniors.
For seniors?
Yeah, I mean, this is PED. This has come up for PED, so I don't know what it's been searching. Mature on Pornhub or something, I don't know.
This is for that birthday thing.
You're saying that, mate, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But we've got, I mean... I'd
get rid of your cookies.
History kill. Absolutely, because
unbelievable.
You could get yourself into some trouble with that.
Scene. There you go.
What a way to finish.
What a way to finish.
I think
people listening on the podcast have been left wanting more.
Well, I mean,
basically, people listen to the podcast. That means you're going to have to check out the video version of this podcast on YouTube.
It was incredible
for the last 5 minutes, just to check out that.
Well, if you're listening, you've missed the image of the ark with the giraffes and the elephants chilling.
Possibly didn't happen.
There's also someone from off the ark over your left shoulder.
There is, looking in through the window, yeah.
Which Dave can't see either because he hasn't got the special effects. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fair play.
Dave will have to check out the
Dave will have to check it out just to see what is over my shoulder. I mean, last week...
Listen, I mean, I watch it regularly.
Yeah.
You know, without fail.
Of course.
And surely everybody does. So,
did you patting Sam Allardyce on the head last week? That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
That's what we want to know. Right, we will leave it there. We know Dave is very busy.
He is a busy
so
it's
thank you very much.
Lunch, but anyway, but I'm getting hungry.
You need to go and book your haircut as well, don't forget.
Oh, yeah, with Scottish Sandra.
Yeah.
What's her name? Gillian.
Gillian.
You know, Scottish Gillian.
Got any space?
Does she do any extras?
Is she what?
She do any extras?
No,
give you a shave or give you a shave.
She washes your hair beforehand. It's all part of the incorporated price.
It's all part of it. No, like flames in your for your ear hair.
You know what I think is interesting though as well is that she doesn't accept cards. It's cash.
Well,
man.
You know, let's not
shame the fiddle clearly.
Allegedly, from Peter McPartland's only opinion, nobody else in this
podcast.
I don't think she is, but it is about the only time that I get cash out at the moment.
He's in a village.
Yeah, you're in a village. You want that money to go round the village.
Sloshing around the village. They probably haven't got card machines in his village.
Probably not.
That's how the economy should work.
Does the milkman deliver your milk, Dave, or do you have to go to a supermarket-style place to get milk? Or do
it's
you not
interesting you
drink
say that because actually we went through a phase of actually having our milk delivered in the old-fashioned way because I thought that it was good and I was trying to do my bit in terms of supporting farmers and not having the supermarkets rip them all off, and we did for a while until we then realised it was massively expensive. Really
it was you that was getting ripped off.
Now I get my milk from Tesco's again.
Fair play to you, Dave. Fair play.
I have a milkman.
Fair play to you, mate, but I'm not paying.
I mean, I don't get milk off him because I drink almond milk. But
what do you drink?
Almond milk.
I don't know what that is.
Almond milk. Yours for Ped then?
What's he bringing to yours then? And when does he turn up?
Brings milk.
But you don't drink milk.
No, I don't. I don't drink milk. I drink almond milk.
Fair play. I mean, Dave's looking perplexed.
I'm going to go.
Let's go. Dave, thank you very much. We will catch up with you next week. Obviously, have a good week. But obviously, we will sort out the new recording time so we can get a bit of Bush back involved. Yeah, and we'll sort out your HR form for your day off, which won't happen.
Won't happen.
Because we'll readjust the filming. Take it easy, mate. Thank you all for watching and listening. See you later.
Bye.